The Wizarding World sport of Quidditch has made numerous appearances in the Harry Potter video games over the years, from 2001's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone on the PC to 2003's standalone Quidditch game Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup. There was even a Harry Potter mod for Minecraft that Mr. Beast, yes, that Mr. Beast, made a video on all the way back in 2012.
And this is a mod from the movie Harry Potter.
And of course, there's a new Quidditch game on the horizon with Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. In this video, we're going to take a look at each game where Quidditch has appeared as a playable sport, discuss how developers have handled the gameplay, and talk about where things could potentially go in the future. It all started with 2001's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which marked the first time fans could play Quidditch in a video game. It happens within the narrative and loosely follows the events of the book and movie. As it happens in both of those, your first match is against Slytherin. There's a little intro cutscene that plays, and we even get commentary from Lee Jordan.
Here comes a Gryffindor Seeker! No, the snitch got away!
Once you've reached this point in the narrative, you also unlock a new Quidditch League mode that's available from the main menu. In this mode, if you catch the snitch, Gryffindor wins. If you are hit by too many bludgers though, then you'll faint and Gryffindor loses. If you can finish first or second in the league, you'll qualify for the finals against Slytherin. Considering you're playing the game as Harry and seeing the world through his eyes, you take on the role of Seeker, and this is the only playable position. And that's true for both in the main game as well as in the Quidditch League. As for the actual gameplay, there are a series of rings you fly through to help you keep track of the golden snitch. The rings actually aren't required though, as long as you stay close to your target. You'll have to watch out for the occasional bludger though, which can knock you off course. You can use shift for a speed boost, but the controls were a bit wonky overall, as your movement was controlled by W, A, S, and D on the keyboard. Once you do get close enough to the snitch and stay within range for a moment, a contextual menu appears at the bottom of the screen with a little snitch catching minigame. All you need to do is press the jump button when the snitch goes inside the hand. And it's this basic formula, set all the way back in 2001, that, for better or worse, has carried over into many future games featuring Quidditch. It was even pretty close to the same formula in the Game Boy Advance version of Philosopher's Stone. Here, Oliver Wood explains the rules to Harry, much like he does in the movie, but in the game, the scene happens immediately before his first match against Slytherin. You begin play only as Harry in his role as the Seeker, but here it's from a top-down view. You need to stay within the snitch's halo, and you can press B to dodge incoming bludgers. After you stay within the halo for a brief moment, you'll have a chance to actually catch the snitch. Here, you need to watch out for other players and the bludgers, all while you try and fly through the sparkles for a speed boost. As you progress through the sparkles, a blue meter at the bottom begins to fill. Once the meter is full, a prompt that's very similar to the PC game will appear where you need to press either A or B to grab the snitch. Again, just wait for it to go inside the hand. Quidditch was also playable in the PlayStation version of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Things are very similar here, with more rings to fly through, and again, commentary from Lee Jordan. The menu that appears at the bottom is slightly different though, but it's the same basic premise and has another snitch grabbing prompt to complete the game. You'll get to play games against both Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw, and if you manage to find all 18 wizard cards during the game, you'll get to play a final match against Slytherin and win the House Cup. This basic structure of Quidditch that was used in the first 3 games actually carried over to Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets on the PC in 2002. Only playing as the Seeker, commentary from Lee Jordan, and flying through a lot of rings once again. The console versions for GameCube, PS2, and Xbox used a very similar system, but with a completely different engine, graphic style, and also controller support, which made flying much more intuitive. On the GBA version, the top-down view was gone and replaced by a more traditional third-person camera behind the player. The sparkling rings returned though, as did the snitch-grabbing minigame at the end. 2003 brought in a major new era for video game Quidditch with the launch of Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup. This is a game that many Potter fans, even to this day, cite as one of the best games in the series. For the first time ever, players would get to play the sport from a more team-focused lens rather than only playing as the Seeker. Not only do you get to play in the Hogwarts House Cup though, you can also unlock the Quidditch World Cup and play against the international teams from the series. And we can't forget the numerous collectibles that you can earn along the way. It all starts with Oliver Wood and Harry Potter, who both give players a brief overview of the sport, and then you get to choose one of the 4 houses. From there, you'll go through a series of challenges that teach you how to play the game. For the majority of each match, you'll be playing as the Chasers, passing the quaffle between them to try and score goals. You can also tackle the opposing Chasers to try and steal the quaffle. As you score goals and complete passes to teammates, teammates, the snitch bar atop the screen will begin to build. Once this meter fills, you'll take on the role of Seeker and attempt to catch the golden snitch. Rather than flying through hoops, you'll have a horizontal gold band that you have to try and stay between. And when you eventually get close enough to the snitch, you can immediately try to catch it without any additional minigame appearing. Like in the source material, catching the snitch rewards your team an extra 150 points and ends the game. After completing your first game, you'll learn how to take advantage of your team's beaters, which allow you to hit bludgers at opponents. You won't take full control of the beaters though. Instead, you'll press a button to launch the bludgers and guide them to your target. You also have special moves that you can unlock and use during the game to get a guaranteed goal against your opponent or a guaranteed steal if you use it defensively. Some of these team special moves will actually score 2 goals for you, but the single scoring ones will progress your snitch meter a bit further. The one position you don't have any control over in Quidditch World Cup is the keeper. Overall, the controls work pretty well for the first ever attempt at a dedicated Quidditch game. The most impressive part of the game, though, was in all of the extra features included, such as 104 unlockable Quidditch cards, and the fact that the game wasn't limited to just the Hogwarts teams. Once you win the Hogwarts House Cup, you can compete in the Quidditch World Cup as one of the international teams, which includes Australia, England, France, Germany, Japan, the Nordic team, Spain, and the USA. And once you manage to collect 65 of those Quidditch cards, you'll unlock Victor Krum and the Bulgarian team. There are also different stadiums and weather effects. And even on the house teams, the developers included names for the actual players from the series, such as Angelina Johnson, Cho Chang, Roger Davies, Cedric Diggory, and Draco Malfoy, among others. There was certainly a level of care and attention to detail put into this title that make it clear why it's so beloved by fans even to this day. Surprisingly, Quidditch World Cup even saw a release on the Game Boy Advance alongside its console counterpart in 2003. And while things were modified to fit on the smaller screen and to use fewer buttons, many of the overall mechanics are still present here. Instead of the action taking place from a third-person perspective though, you'll see everything from a horizontal view until it's time to catch the snitch. Then you'll shift into a third-person view behind the Seeker. The release of Quidditch World Cup though actually seemed to have a negative effect in the other Potter titles. In fact, they stopped including Quidditch entirely. It did not appear as playable at all in 2004's Prisoner of Azkaban, 2005's Goblet of Fire, or 2007's Order of the Phoenix. Oddly enough though, there was a playable form of Quidditch in the Order of the Phoenix game on the Nintendo DS. The gameplay here was very similar to the GBA version of Quidditch World Cup, where you mostly play as the chasers scoring goals while the meter at the top slowly builds toward the moment when you'll be able to catch the snitch. Quidditch would eventually make its return to the movie-based games in 2009 with Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. You again play as Harry in his role as Seeker, but you're still flying through rings. Well, actually, stars this time. The way you catch the snitch, though, is quite a bit different here. It's all about the rings, which change color as time passes. They start as green, but will eventually turn to yellow, red, and black before disappearing completely. If you miss too many of the stars, you'll lose. But fly through enough of them, and you'll eventually catch the snitch. No snitch-grabbing minigame this time. The whole thing feels even a little bit more on rails than the other games, and almost like an interactive cutscene rather than actually playing Quidditch. Now, we can't forget about the mobile titles, because Quidditch has been featured in both Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery and Harry Potter Magic Awakened. In Hogwarts Mystery, the actual Quidditch gameplay is mostly a rhythm timing minigame. As for Magic Awakened, it's not currently available in the global launch of the game, but it did appear during the game's soft launch. Matches were only 3v3 with everyone playing as a chaser. You actually fly in a first-person view and tap left or right to stay on course. Now, if you bump into other players, you're going to lose stamina points. Eventually, you'll build up enough to take a shot at one of the hoops with the quaffle, and you just tap on a ring to throw it through. As for all of these Harry Potter games that you see on screen now, they did not include playable Quidditch. With no Quidditch in Hogwarts Legacy, but a dedicated Quidditch game on the horizon in Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, it seems as the future of the wizarding sport in video games will be defined by the standalone title, rather than as an add-on minigame in other Potter titles. That being said, Quidditch remains one of the most popular fan requests for a Hogwarts Legacy DLC or potential sequel. It's interesting to note how most developers have landed on a similar gameplay loop, and it's also fair to question where Quidditch Champions and other future titles could take the iconic wizarding world sport. For starters, there are inherent issues as it's written in the books and how the canon point system translates into video games. Even though Seeker is the position that's been featured most in the games, it's proven difficult to find that right competitive balance while also keeping the game fun. The act of catching the snitch needs to be challenging enough to prevent games from ending quickly, but not so hard that games go on for too long. So far, developers have struggled to figure out a way to manage this that doesn't involve flying through rings. It's also important to find ways that keep each position feeling part of the larger team for a sport where the positions can often feel quite disconnected. If you're curious to see how I think these issues could be handled in the upcoming Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, then check out the video on the right side of your screen now where I break that down in even greater detail. As always, witches and wizards, thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.